Hello and welcome to This Is. For the first time ever, Microsoft have released a budget-priced Surface laptop, and it's pretty good, as long as you don't make a huge mistake in the purchasing of this laptop.
So don't buy this laptop.
Don't waste your money, but also, yes, you should probably buy it. Okay, let me explain. The Surface Go 2 is a $400, and I say that with huge air quotes, a $400 Windows-based tablet. We've done videos on it. I like this thing a lot. However, there is a major problem with this that is shared with the Surface Laptop Go, and that is the base spec. So when you look at the Surface Laptop Go, the main thing to keep in mind is that this is a smaller version, essentially, of the standard Surface laptop, right?
Okay.
So it's aluminum as opposed to magnesium. It has this sort of like, I believe it's plastic and like glass or something. Like
Right, but it still probably feels fairly premium though.
Yes, and I say glass, I think it's like glass fiber or something. It feels fine, right? But this starts out at $550. Sounds like a great deal, right?
Is it though?
No, until you upgrade it. Then yes.
There are obviously a lot of really affordable laptops in that $500 range. We've
Yes.
taken a look at a lot of them in the past.
So here's the thing. This has a unique selling point in that it is a small laptop. So this is a 12.3-inch display. It is a 3:2 aspect ratio, so you get that much taller sort of look on the screen. It also is very lightweight. It's just a little bit over 1 kilogram.
If I didn't know any better, this actually just feels like the normal Surface laptop, just smaller.
There's some things that they've removed. So you do not have Windows Hello facial recognition. Instead, there's a fingerprint sensor, although that is not on the base model. You have to upgrade to get to that. It has an excellent keyboard that I would say is shared with the larger Surfaces. Feels great. Trackpad, rock solid. The overall experience, yeah, the hinge is nice.
Yeah, okay, so I mean, like many other Surface products, I don't think we can really knock them for anything really in the build quality department.
The port selection is just the same as other Surfaces. So you have the Surface connector, you have USB-A,
Right.
USB-C.
Still very impressive build quality, and it seems like to get at these low prices, there has to be compromises somewhere. And tell me about the base spec of this.
The problem with the base model is that you only get 4 gigs of RAM, you get 64 gigs of slow eMMC storage, and you don't get the fingerprint sensor on the home or the power button. That, I would say, is a bad idea. No matter how, if that thing was $400, maybe, but at $550, I mean, you can look at like Asus and especially a lot of Acer options,
Yeah.
which are much, much better than that.
Like the Acer Spire E15, right? Or
The
E5?
Aspire 5 and
Aspire,
15, yeah.
yeah.
Now, when you start to upgrade the Surface Laptop Go, it gets much better. So the mid-spec is the one you should buy.
Right.
At $700, you get that same i5, but you get 8 gigs of RAM and a 128 gig proper SSD.
Right.
Still not a ton. I think they're being a little stingy. And the fact that you go $200 extra to go from 128 to 256 gig storage, still crazy town. I don't know why Microsoft continue to sell these SSDs for so much more money. For context, you can buy a 256 gig SSD for about $40 right now. So the fact that they charge you $200 to upgrade to that, I think is nothing less than a complete ripoff. However, if you get the mid-spec model of this, the i5 is completely fine as far as performance goes. The 8 gigs of RAM is enough. I would like to see more, but generally speaking, you can't upgrade these laptops because they have LPDDR4X memory, which is fine. It's fast for the Ice Lake processor.
Right.
And you've got the 128 gig SSD, which is, I would say, barely enough if you use this for lighter tasks. This has a 12.4-inch display, but it is only a 1536 by 1024 resolution. They definitely cut some costs with the display. It's fine though. It's not something that I would complain about even at the $700 price point. It just would be nicer if they had gotten a slightly higher resolution. That's all.
I mean, you're doing a good job of not selling me on this.
But, okay, here's the thing, right? You get a lot of these fundamentals that are rock solid like in other Surface devices, right? So again, touchscreen is nice. That's not always something you get. I would say the screen is slightly above average for what you would usually get at this kind of price point.
Yeah.
Trackpad is excellent. Port selection is fine. I mean, this is the same complaint I have with basically every Surface. It does have a headphone jack, and you can use that magnetic Surface connector, but you can also charge via USB-C, something
Right.
that I do pretty frequently based on where I am. You can't get a lot of sub 13-inch laptops. You can't get a lot of things that are in this sort of price range with this kind of size, right? It is
Right.
kind of a little bit of a league of its own. You're always going to pay extra when it comes to this build quality and the Surface name, right? Just like you pay extra
Yeah, a
for
lot of the money that goes into R&D. I mean, this is not a cheap thing to design. So
Yeah.
obviously, again, those compromises do make sense.
Yes.
But to the average person, does this stuff actually matter?
If you want a portable laptop, which is relatively premium, I would say yes. Get that mid-spec model though. Do not get the base, and I think the 256 is not worth that extra $200 because once you start getting into that, you're very quickly in the kind of price category of the standard Surface Laptop 3.
Right.
So I actually have an interesting little price comparison.
Okay.
So if you want to get a Surface Laptop Go
Okay.
or a Surface Go 2, this is actually slightly cheaper when you spec it out. So if you get them both with their i3, i5, like there's the upgraded processors are the best that you can get on each. 8 gigs of RAM, 128 gig storage, and you buy the type cover, which you obviously need, that is actually $30 more expensive than the laptop, and it is significantly less powerful.
I'm sure it wasn't the intended result, but it's almost like they're banking on people buying this one at a worser value at $550 than with this guy with all of the accessories included.
Yeah.
Right.
The only real negative thing I have about the hardware,
Okay.
it actually runs a little warm. So I have not opened this up and taken a look at it yet. But just the cooling solution, I think, is probably less than optimal. I mean,
Yeah.
if you look,
What cooling
Yes.
solution? I mean,
it gets, I wouldn't say uncomfortably warm on your lap, but it is a little toasty. It is definitely
it's a
warmer
s-
than most laptops.
It's a small computer, so the heat has to go somewhere, and that somewhere is the bottom lid.
Yeah.
And when you're using it, it definitely has a lot of heat on it, I would imagine.
And you also have to consider that the other components, like there's no facial recognition, you do have to deal with a slightly below average, well, I don't even say below average, but a slightly less higher quality display.
It's just the quality of life things. More or less are there for the mid-spec version. There's still some compromises versus other things.
And unlike some of the Windows on ARM devices that I've been taking a look at recently, there's no app compatibility issues whatsoever. Photoshop will work on this. As long as you've got enough RAM for it, you're gonna be fine. So things will work. You can even do a little bit of light gaming because these graphics, while they're certainly not enough for Crysis at 4K, you can do some light gaming on the Surface Laptop Go.
Something that we haven't even mentioned either is the fact that I'm assuming, at least, that this is compatible with all of the Surface accessories too. So you could use the pen.
Oh, Surface Pen is not enabled.
Ooh, spicy. So the webcam on this is supposedly really good. They talk up a very good game about it.
720p.
Yes.
Dual stereo far field microphones. Why don't you give us a little camera sample right now, my friend?
This does not look bad at all. I mean, it's serviceable, right?
Yeah.
As Matt very awesomely pointed out, this is probably a great computer for students that are working remotely or learning remotely, right?
I agree.
For
I mean,
conferencing and whatnot, right?
one of the nice things about it is that while it might not be the highest quality thing in the world, and keep in mind we have decent studio lighting here, but you can get a very good sense of not only the image quality, but also the audio quality when we're using the mics built into the Surface Laptop Go. I mean, do you think that people would be better served just buying an Acer, which is significantly larger, significantly more powerful, and about the same price?
Look, for people that can't tell at all what performance differences there are between this $550 laptop and
$700. $550 is
well,
terrible. Ignore that.
but people will look at that price point and they will buy this thing. Say someone walks into Best Buy,
Yeah.
right? They hold this thing and they're like, okay, this is $550. Someone will probably choose this in hand if they had the Acer Aspire, like an ASUS laptop right next to them, right? Because this just feels better.
True. It's a good piece of hardware. It is, in a lot of ways, my favorite Surface at the moment.
Yeah.
I think, for me personally, as someone who's very biased toward this kind of thing, I could very easily see myself continuing to daily drive this because there's essentially no issue for me. Everything works. Everything is solid. I like the port selection. I like screen. I like everything about it. I just would say, save your money, don't buy the base Surface Laptop Go. Anyway, thank you for attending my TED Talk. Make sure to subscribe to This Is for lots of insightful commentary and questionable conclusions like this. And until next time, we're going to go make fun of a new piece of tech, like